This episode of United Hour is sponsored by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Lads, it's time to gear up and get yourself the gift of shaving this holiday season. I'm talking about the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. You don't want to use the same trimmer on your face as you're using on your balls. That's just nasty. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their lawn mower has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. Manscaped also has the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing deodorant and moisturiser. You already put deodorant on your armpits, so why aren't you putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? So go over to manscaped.com and you can get 20% off and free shipping from their entire range with the code BIGHEADS. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code BIGHEADS, BIGHEADS. Always use the right tools for the job. Your balls will thank you.
Yeah! The shout now. Well done, Robbie Johnson. Well done, Manchester United. It's a Sheringham and Solskjaer has won it! Van Sar saved it! United again! Rooney! A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie!
Welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm Ed, and this is another opposition podcast. I'm joined by Robbie. Is it Robbie, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
or Silent Witness, like Cafe alias.
Yeah. So actually, we'll start with this question because Nick has been pecking me about this. Why are you on a United forum? What drew you to it?
So basically, I actually joined the Everton official forum. So Everton back in the day, the actual club website, it used to have a forum on it. But as you'll know from the CAF, when the days of Weist and Silvista and stuff, the internet was a bit loose in that time.
Yes.
And that was the same case with the Everton forum, where people were calling things saying all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And I think because the club was associated with that forum, because it was on their website, they were like, nah, we can't have this guy, so they closed it down.
Yes, yeah.
And then from that moment, I then went on to Grand Old Team, which is, I think, the biggest unofficial Everton fan forum. I think they've beaten the CAF, actually, in the forum awards a few times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the best forum or something like that. And I went on that, but I found it quite fickle in the sense that, like, I once posted something, the season Liverpool almost won the league under Benitez, I think. I was like, oh, they actually look quite good this year. And
didn't almost, really. Sorry.
It was either that one or the Rodgers one, where it was like very close.
It would have been the Rodgers one because we battered them in the Benitez season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it was the Rodgers one then. And everyone kind of got on my back a bit, and I was like, oh, okay, like I'll go out there and look for someone else. And I just stumbled upon the CAF, and I was like, actually, I quite like it here. The discussion is probably the best I've ever seen on any forum. Like the nitty gritty. At the moment, it's a bit dour because of what's going on, but during that time period when you guys were still at the top, it was very good. You still get that now and then, but it's definitely a bit more ropey than it used to be.
I don't really go on the CAF that much these days, just because the United forum's kind of intolerable. To me, it seems like it's filled with a bunch of people who've never actually kicked a ball in their lives. Yeah. So they don't really understand the nuances of the game. So they see that United are 1-0 down and, that just means we're shit. And
I definitely have taken a back seat, and I read more than I take part. But like that's fine for me at the moment. I think I'll probably get back into it at some point again in the future. But for now, I'm quite happy with like a backseat role with a CAF.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not detecting a Scouse accent.
No. Yeah. So basically, I grew up in Scotland, in near Dundee. So I kind of followed Dundee United a little bit because one of my mates was like in the youth system there. But
all right.
Basically, I started supporting Everton because of Big Dunk. So
yeah, okay.
It's kind of.
We'll come on to him soon.
Yeah, it's kind of poetic. Like it seems like it's kind of full circle. Like my support of Everton now that he's manager. It's quite weird, but yeah. So like late 90s, early 2000s when he was with us, I kind of started supporting us, and then when I really started supporting Everton, when I was more aware, so when I was about 10, 11 years old, was when Rooney was starting to break through. So was that like 04, 03, 04, something like that?
Yeah.
Around about then. Or it might be
probably closer to 2004.
Yeah. Around about that time, that's when I kind of started to fully get into it. I had like my full membership pack and like the posters on my wall and stuff of Rooney, and that was when I started to get really into them.
Right. So I guess I'll move on and talk about the season. So you've had a pretty poor start to the season. You've sacked a manager and then brought a club legend in. How do you feel about Mikel Arteta being manager of Arsenal?
I noticed today, like I've not been on my phone too much today, but I noticed Pep said something like he's going home, and I was kind of thinking, that doesn't make sense in regards to Arsenal. Like,
no.
I don't get what he was saying there. I definitely thought that if he managed anyone, he would come to us. But I think now, because of the position we're in, they want someone big. If we were maybe like 8th and he got sacked, I think they might be more willing to give Arteta a go. But I think because we're in the position we're in, they want to go big and basically be like, no, we need this.
I associate Arteta with Everton, not so much Arsenal. I feel like it was like an afterthought purchase, and obviously the move for him made sense, but he was just there to replace Fabregas.
I agree with that. Like, it didn't seem, he doesn't seem like an Arsenal man.
No,
like he seems more of a Everton man than Arsenal to me, but he does associate with Arsenal in what you'd expect from them as a football team and style. So it might work in that way.
So, are you looking forward to have it? Would you like to have Ancelotti, or would you prefer to have Big Duncan?
This is a very tricky one, because Big Dunk, the passion he's brought to us is what we've needed for so long. Like, Martinez actually did have that a little bit. But he was one of those managers where it worked in that one season when he got everything together, but then, as everyone kind of predicted, the defensive side of his game just wasn't up to scratch. And with Big Dunk, he's got the passion, but I just don't know if he would be someone who has that tactical nous that everyone else does. But then I don't see Ancelotti as a good fit for us either.
It's a difficult one, that one.
Yeah, I just don't see him as like... I think I made a post on the CAF. It seems like, you know, when Etu came to us, maybe 4 or 5 seasons ago or something, when we still had Lukaku, and it seemed like, whoa, we've got Samuel Etu at Everton. Like, how has that happened? And he was like great in some matches, and then in some matches he was just terrible. But he definitely made a big part in Lukaku's development. So I think Ancelotti's going to be a manager where I don't think he's ever going to pick us up. He'll definitely pick us up a bit more than Silva, but it might turn out to be something like Pellegrini at West Ham. Because I really wanted Pellegrini when we sacked Allardyce. I would have rather we went for him than Silva.
Right.
Because I thought he would kind of stabilise us a bit more. But now it's gone sour for him at West Ham. So it's one of those where you just don't know what's going to happen. Like,
no,
the only manager that I think seems to is on the ascendancy in our leagues anyway is Potter. I really like him, but I think he needs another season at Brighton, and then you'll see him. I think he'd be a good choice after that.
Right.
I quite like him.
So I mean, I've got so much respect for Carlo Ancelotti. So I know I really rate him as a manager, but I'm not sure Everton has the funds that he'd need to really kick the team on.
Yeah, I think it depends with us because we just spent a chunk in the summer, and I don't know if they'd want in January if they'd want to spend that again. But
no,
we need to, because we need to invest in a centre back, because Keane was great last season, but this season, well, I say great. At the start of the season, he was pretty poor, but then towards the end of it, he was fantastic. Like, I thought him and Zuma were near enough perfect partnership for us. And I was really excited going into the season. It was unfortunate we didn't get Zuma, but I was still confident with Keane's ability. But this season he has been really, really bad. So we need another centre back. We probably need another forward as well. But the problem is with us, we've got so many strikers. Like we've got Calvert-Lewin, we've got Tosin, we've got Keane, we've got youngsters coming through that look really good, like that Anthony Gordon. There's another guy called Sims in our youth system who looks really good. So we're like, and Nias as well, he's still with us. So we've got all these like 6 or 7 strikers that are in contention, but we don't need all of them. So we still need to get rid of the dead wood, essentially.
You've still got Theo Walcott. I've totally forgot he went to Everton.
Yeah, we've still got him. Like he's been starting quite recently as well. But he's one of those where he'll give like a 10 out of 10 performance or a 2 out of 10, and there's no in between. It's just one of those. So I was really looking forward to this season, but I definitely think losing Idrissa Gueye has been that's been the major problem for us for sure. Because he was one of those where not only was he 8 out of 10 every week, but he didn't get injured a lot. And that was very useful. Whereas now we only have Davies as our only fit centre midfielder, basically, like fully fit. And we played Holgate against you guys in centre mid. So it's I don't know how to feel anymore. Like
I know how that feels.
Sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say. So I guess you brought up our game. So we'll maybe move on to that. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, I thought we'd win. Given our previous 2 matches, Spurs and City, we've wasn't expecting 6 points from those games.
Yeah,
we've this is probably the game we should have been targeting.
Mm-hmm.
Like to definitely get the 3 points.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, but we just didn't really get out of the blocks. And then you hit us with that goal, which is a bit arguably tenuous. What did you make of it? Do you think it should have stood, or do you think it was a foul on De Gea?
Well, if I'm not an Everton fan, I'd be disappointed that was given against me. But if I was a United fan, I'd be annoyed as well. But and I know you can't use this as an excuse where you say things like, "Oh, but Everton, we've been hard done by like with VAR in the past," because like they brought out that article recently where they said the VAR decisions they've got wrong, and they noted the decision against us in the Brighton game. They said that was one of the VAR decisions they got wrong. So that's basically 3 points dropped from us.
I mean, but that's like, well, people say, I've always said, it swings and roundabouts in football, and it'll work itself out towards the end of the season.
Yeah,
but that's not what VAR's for.
Exactly.
VAR is to cut that out. So that does annoy me.
Exactly, and it annoys me as well because there's no consistency. That's what annoys me about VAR at the moment. There's no consistency. Like
exactly
that DCL De Gea issue. You see them given half the time. You see them not given half the time, and they just. They need to once and for all just say, look, this is what it is, and have a straight system from then on, because it's not fair, like, to anyone really, because as you say, these things don't even out over the course of the year. I think it evens out like season by season. So like one season you could get really lucky with VAR and penalties and stuff, and then the next season you don't. So and that obviously 2 seasons, it doesn't affect each other. Like you could have one terrible season and then get relegated. It's stupid and it just needs to be ironed out. But it's one of those where I think it was a foul, but on the other hand, I also think De Gea was weak within that. Yeah, like
so. I thought my first reaction is was it Lewin, the Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, it was Calvert-Lewin.
I thought he had every right to be challenging for the ball, and I thought it should probably stand on first viewing.
Yeah.
Second viewing, I thought, well, if De Gea goes down holding his face or something, if De Gea's trying to catch the ball instead of punch it, it's probably a foul.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's one of those it can go either way. Like, I don't think the Calvert-Lewin did anything wrong.
No,
really.
I don't think he did. I think that was what I was thinking in terms of like the Keane issue when against Brighton. Like essentially, they were both just running, and Keane clipped him on accident, which is why they give the penalty.
Right.
And like technically, you'd say it was a foul because he clipped him and he went down, but then it's one of those where they've then said it's not a foul because it was accidental. And it's kind of the same with the Calvert-Lewin one, where he's not trying to foul De Gea, he's just trying to attack the ball.
I think, and then I suppose the benefit of the doubt should go to the attacker. So it's probably worked out fair, really.
Yeah, I think it's what we could maybe agree on is that there's 2 different sides. So there will be people saying it should be benefit for the attacker, people that will say it should be benefit for the goalkeeper. And what we need is just someone to say, no, it's this.
I mean, personally, I used to be a goalkeeper myself, and I'd expect to be challenged there.
Yeah.
And if it should be a foul, but at the end of the day, if De Gea's stronger there, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he's going there, catching the ball, or at least making it look like he's not being strengthened off too easily, it's not. It's either it's going to be given a free kick anyway. Yeah. So ultimately, it's poor keeping, really.
Yeah. I think it's a mix of the two, really, isn't it? Like poor keeping and not clarity on the rules, really.
We got a goal back. I'll be honest, it's almost a week now, so I don't really remember. The thing that really sticks out in my mind is the Moise Keane sub.
Yeah.
What are your? I have actually seen some of your posts on it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on it now? Sort of a bit more after the fact.
It's one of those where I can see both sides of it. Like, I do think it was wrong of Big Dunk to not shake his hand or anything when he came off. That was definitely wrong, and that was an arsehole move of him to do that.
What's the established reason for the sub now? What is
from what I can see, he's still saying it's the he just wanted to waste time, and Keane was just the person.
But
he was just the one there. But
I don't get the argument, because 30 seconds gets added for subs. It's always the case. There was 2 minutes extra time, so
yeah, it's from my interpretation is that what he's saying is nonsense as well. Like,
yeah,
it's something that I think he thinks that Niasse would have done a better job than Keane was doing in terms of hustling, breaking up play, like not fouling. Because some of the arguments people made were that he tackled and stuff, but he was fouling a bit, and you could openly see there's pictures and video clips of him after about 10 minutes, absolutely gassed. Like he has his hands on his knees, like blowing out steam and stuff. But then you can also say, but that's poor management from Big Dunk to know he's that unfit and still put him on.
Yeah.
But I do feel for him, because he's been mismanaged the whole time he's been with us under Silva initially. Like he didn't know where to play him. Like he didn't know what to do with him. He was struggling a bit, and obviously he was late to a couple of meetings, team meetings and stuff, and he was dropped out of the squad and stuff.
You see, for me, he's a young lad. You've signed him from Juventus, right?
Yeah.
He was a hot European prospect. It was a bit of a coup for Everton getting him, really. Yeah. And you know, if he's late to a few meetings, you don't drop him. You put your arm around him and say, "Look, this isn't how we go about things." This, you know, he's in a new country. He's probably got to get used to the language. Probably got to get used to the culture. I think the sub was incredibly unfair. Even if he was like gas, I thought he was doing fine. I didn't see any real reason to sub him off. And if you're gonna, like, there was so many other players that could have come off as well.
Yeah, like Robbie was rubbish that game. Like, he was really bad. And the only thing, like I said in the post, that we don't know, like, it's all kind of things that we are interpreting at this point, because I think we can all be kind of agreed that Big Dunk was lying. I think we can all be agreed on that, but everything after that is kind of interpretation as to what went on. And I do understand if he was ignoring tactical reasons.
I do get that.
Why he would kind of be a bit peeved off at him. But I do understand the argument that other people were saying was that just leave it and tell him after the game.
Yeah.
I just think, like, a Big Dunk, that he's wanting to show that because we're down in a relegation battle still, he's basically saying to the players, look, if you're going to ignore me, then you're out. Yeah.
Well, and I do get that, to be fair. I just think, for me, for such a young lad to have been subbed on, then hooked 10 minutes later, it's a bit of a stain on his career.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to live with that for a bit.
Yeah, no, he is.
And I think that's sort of what gets me the most.
Yeah,
I don't think it helps with his development.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's very hypocritical of the club as well, because you guys don't have this at the moment. I know you're looking into it, but with the director of football situation, so basically, Marcel Brands, he takes care of everything in terms of us, in terms of, like, signing the players, like scouting their development from youth into the first team. Player liaison, that type of stuff. And everyone kind of brought it up that when he came into the club, we basically said, because he was having the racism issues while he was at Juventus, and we said, we'll take care of your son to his mother. And now it just looks very hypocritical now that Big Dunk has just swept him off and been ignored him. I think he probably needs to go out on loan. If we don't get rid of people like Tosa and Niasse, I think he needs to go out on loan and just find his confidence back again. He struggled a bit.
I was just going to say, do you think you'll keep him now?
If Ancelotti comes, yes.
Yeah.
I think that'll help for sure.
Yeah.
A different manager, I'm not sure. Big Dunk, I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think Big Dunk will keep him, but definitely Ancelotti, I think he's got a future with us. And it doesn't seem like he's disliked by the players either. Like, he seems to get on with the players. He seems to be kind of assimilating himself into like Scouse life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's one for the January window to look into. If there are clubs interested in him, I think a loan would be good, just to kind of reassess his head again. Because even if he does leave, I still think we wouldn't lose that much money on him. Because Brand seems to be quite good at recouping fees. Like that Onyekuru guy who couldn't get a work permit with us, we signed him and made like a 5 to 7 mil profit on him or something. Same with that Vlasic guy we got from a Croatian team. I can't remember which one it was, but we got him for like 7-8 million, sold him for like 12 to a Russian team. So he seems to be quite good at recouping fees. So
which is important when you're replacing players.
Exactly. So either way, I'd be okay with it. But it would be sad if he left, because I was very excited about that signing. I thought it was going to be great for us.
Yeah. So I guess I sort of touched on it earlier in that I was saying I wasn't expecting United to get 6 points from Spurs and City, and it was Everton that I was expecting us to really capitalise. So, I mean, Solskjaer seems to get the best out of his players in the big games.
Yeah.
But then we are absolutely... I won't say Everton's not a big game, actually, to be fair, because it's that Everton are always a tough team to play against. Partly due to the Manchester-Liverpool rivalry. But you are in a situation where we'd expect to get the points at the moment.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Solskjaer taking us forwards? Do you think he's the right man, or should we be looking for an improvement?
I think that actually might come down to youth, in that youth are quite fearless in terms of big things. So like when they're coming up against the likes of City and Spurs and things like that, you have that like youthful adrenaline within you where you know it's a big game, you know that's kind of going through you. But then also when you're a youth, you kind of very like relaxed around like so-called smaller games.
Well, yeah.
I think it might be kind of down to that, and people like, you don't really have a leader in your team.
No.
Like De Gea is the most experienced person you have in your side in terms of like United longevity, right? But I've never seen him as like a leader, like in a traditional sense of a captain.
No.
Maguire, yes, but he's not been there long enough to kind of have that role.
Bit underwhelmed by Maguire so far, to be honest.
Yeah, in terms of quality, he's not been that good, but I definitely can see the leadership qualities in him, and I think that's good. Like, I don't think I'd be too concerned about his quality as a player yet. I'd be more interested in how he ends up leading the team, because that's what you're in dire need of. Is you need a leader to knit those youth together and get their head screwed on for those big games, because it's not all down to Solskjaer. Like we've seen in terms of those big games that the tactics he's put on have been really good. Like the counter-attacking football you play is reminiscent to when you had Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just about having that experience that you had when you had like Ferdinand Vidic, Evra, Scholes, Giggs in those smaller games, to be like Rooney, like when it's 0-0, them guys were like, guys, it's 0-0, and they took it up a notch.
I feel like it's... I honestly think it's a bit of complacency, really. We go to these smaller teams and we think, well, we're Manchester United, so give us the points.
Yeah.
But half of these players haven't cut their teeth yet to have that fear factor before the game's even started. So, of course, we're not getting the results. And I also think there's perhaps a lack of intensity in these smaller games. And we just don't move the ball fast enough.
I can see that as well. And I don't think it helps that the one player that could probably help in those smaller games is Pogba. Like, I know all of you guys are, well, this fan base is quite split at the moment between people who like him and don't like him, but he is one of the only players, well, I think the only player, maybe Mata, but he doesn't do it as often anymore, who can kind of do those defence splitting type passes in the smaller games, those balls over the top, things like that.
I can't remember the exact stat, but we were talking about it in our podcast WhatsApp group, and Rob said quite a high percentage of Pogba's goals last season came against these smaller teams.
There you go then. Yeah.
So, it just speaks for itself, really. I'm kind of on the fence with him at the moment because I think we've got a very functional midfield.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't want to disrupt by having Pogba come straight into it.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think that we'd have to see about playing him somewhere else on the pitch to see how he goes. But I'd say we are. I can see what you're saying about certainly lacking leaders.
Yeah, and even Lukaku. People always slated him that he would get like 2 or 3 against really small teams. Look how much would you love to have that now? Like
exactly. I mean,
you've got Rashford for the big games, Lukaku for the little teams who can just poach, thunder in a little tap in and stuff. Like, hopefully you'll get that Haaland guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'd be really good for you, and he would bring in that smaller game thing that you've been missing in terms of that. Just he's a natural finisher, like pure.
Because unlike before, we've got the crosser now. We've got James. We call him James.
Yeah.
We've got him, and he puts in so many decent crosses that we're just astounded that there's no one either running to the front post or running to the back post just to put. All they need is a touch.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest frustrations so far this season, really. So, we're coming up to about half an hour mark.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably a good time to ask you where you think. I'll ask you where Everton will end up. Where do you reckon you'll get? Because with Ancelotti possibly coming in,
it's difficult because when you look at the table, like I've not looked at it recently, but the last time I think last week when I looked at it, we're only like a couple
16th.
But how many points are we off the relegation zone? Is it 3?
3.
And how much are we off?
You're 3 from 12th.
3 from 12, but from like 6th, it's only like 7 or something.
7,
yeah,
7 from us. Yeah.
So 7 points from 6th and 3 points from relegation. So basically, if you're in 6th, you're 10 points away from the relegation zone, which is nothing when you think about it.
Yeah,
like the league at the moment, it's very impossible to predict, really. Like I'll tell you what, I would be happy with 10th or above. That's what I'd be happy with. Whether we'll achieve that, I'm not too sure. I still think because of the new manager coming in, it's going to be shaky, and it's going to be a lot of those moments where when you're getting used to a manager coming in, you go through those kind of stages where you have like 2 wins, but then you lose like 3, and then you know what it's like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think we'll get relegated, but between 10th and 14th. 10th and 14th.
Yeah.
Between those, I think.
I will say now, and you can come back to me at the end of the season and kick me in the shins or something, Everton will not get relegated.
I'll take your word for it.
No, honestly, it's just not going to happen. The teams that are below them are so poor.
Yeah, like
it just won't happen.
I think we can be safe that Watford are gone. I think Watford are gone. The next 2, Norwich probably as well. Like, I quite like them, but I just don't think they've got enough like Premier League quality. Like, despite being a good team and despite us losing against all the relegation, all the teams that got promoted, I still don't think any of them are significantly better than us.
I mean, Newcastle are 11th, and I reckon they're probably living a charmed life.
Yeah, like them as well.
They're only 4 points ahead.
Yeah, like there are. So I think Norwich and Watford are gone, and it's going to be like a fight for that last spot. And I'm not sure who'll take that really. Like maybe Bournemouth. I think they might be in danger. You know, like how it seems to kind of be. You know, when like with Mourinho with you, it was just kind of getting, and Pochettino at Spurs, he just stayed there too long. I think that might be happening with Howe now as well. So
yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we'll get relegated. So 10th to 14th, that's my prediction.
And where do you think United are going to finish?
If you get Haaland in January,
I don't think that's going to happen. But let's pretend we do.
If you got that, I reckon you'll get fifth.
Fifth?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll be the difference in those small games for you.
And if we don't?
If you don't, 6th or 7th.
Sixth.
I think it's going to be the difference for you, really, like within those small games.
Yeah. I can certainly. There's certainly merit to your argument.
And Pogba coming back as well. Like I think he's.
Well, the thing about Pogba is, it's like you were saying earlier. He's either an 8 or a 2.
Yeah.
And there's no in between.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm a lot more positive than I was after since we've beaten City and Spurs.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd found a rhythm. I mean, mind you, we thrashed Colchester 3-0 the other night.
Yeah.
I know it's Colchester, but that's the game. We struggled against Rochdale. So
yeah, that's true, and that's like the type of games you've been struggling in the past few seasons, where like you've been rubbish in those like little teams that you've played in, like the FA Cup and Carling Cup and stuff. So it's definitely good that you've had those before.
Yeah. So I don't think top 4's out of the question at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the question. I just think I don't think it'll happen.
No, we'll see. So I guess thank you for coming on.
No worries.
We play again later in the season, don't we?
Yeah, I think we've got another game to go. Yeah.
So hopefully you'll be interested in coming back on. We can talk about where the teams are at and how compare our predictions.
Yeah, of course. I mean, hopefully by that point we're in the top half rather than the bottom. At least.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been great to have a chat.
Yeah. No, thank you for coming on. So that's good night from me.
No problem. Goodbye.